LeBlanc makes her way into the top 3 for mid lane, while Diana slots in for jungle and Bran joins support as we provide you guys with 3 of the best solo carries for every single role in 25.20. But first, some hard truths. YouTube is built for the algorithm, not your LP. That means clickbait titles, junk food topics, and stretching simple tips for watch time. We're part of that system too, just like every guide and YouTube channel. And because every video is randomly surfaced to you as a singular guide and topic, advice often contradicts what you just watched. No context, no plan, more confusion. On our website at SkillCpped, however, we're free from all that, allowing us to focus on what actually matters. We teach in the most efficient way to really rank you up fast, with the same premium editing and challenger level coaches you see here, just without the algorithm's hoops. Start with our essentials courses for every role, updated for season 15. These are meticulously planned step-by-step guides that build your fundamentals in the right order. Once you've finished essentials, move into the advanced courses. Deep dive wave control, advanced mechanics, the proven bronze to diamond climb paths, and literal world record jungle clears for each jungler, all structured so lessons stack instead of contradict. While you follow these learning paths, we also release our popular challenger walkthroughs, new sessions every week showing how to abuse the best meta champs for your elo, supported with an AMA section below each video, which we always respond to. We back it up with a climb 5 divisions improvement guarantee while you're actively using SkillCpped, plus a 30-day refund change of mind policy on top of that, so there's literally no risk. Stop trying to mix and match random guides and start following a structured path far away from all the noise. Click the limited time discount link below to join SkillCpped today. So kicking off the top 3 for top lane in 25.20 is going to be Garen. So Garen has very quietly snuck back into a top tier spot for solo queue after a bunch of positive changes. Over the course of the past few months, we've seen Phantom Dancer get buffed, while Garen himself has had his E-AD ratio buffed twice. With these AD ratio buffs coming through, it's made a more offensive Garen build really powerful. Spear of Shojin and Infinity Edge as third items on Garen are really good right now, and when you get 3 items on the champ, your ability to kill squishies in one rotation is completely effortless. If the entire enemy comp is squishy and you can just one-shot them, then going for Infinity Edge is a great idea, but if the enemy comp is more durable, then go for Shojin so you have better extended fight power. There's one specific matchup in meta that Garen players are really struggling with right now, and it's Kayle. Once Kayle gets her level 6 and unlocks her ranged form, it becomes super difficult for Garen to do anything because of the strong kiting power that Kayle has. Even if Garen manages to get on top of Kayle, she has her R, which can completely nullify so much of Garen's DPS, so Kayle is a really good ban to consider. For Garen's rune page, you can take either Conqueror or Phase Rush. Phase Rush will be best into range matchups or in lanes where you want very short trades, while Conqueror is great otherwise. This top lane champ is absolutely tearing up solo queue at every single elo bracket right now, as we've got Quinn slotting in. With both Garen and Jax rising in popularity over the past few patches, Quinn value has shot up even higher. What makes Quinn so lethal for solo queue is her ability to dictate how the lane plays out. You're in the driver's seat with Quinn, as right from level 1, you can be aggressive, looking to trade with your E and proc electrocute to get a nice chunk off. The absolute best case scenario early on with Quinn is if you can get the enemy low enough to where they cannot walk up to fight you, and then the enemy jungler ganks and you end up killing them both for a double. Few other top lane champs are able to generate the kind of early game advantages that Quinn can, which gives her incredible snowball potential. Once you've won lane and knocked down the enemy's top lane tower, don't completely tunnel on perma roaming. Make sure you're pushing out sideways, and then when waves are pushed in and the enemy top laner is forced to catch them, look to make a roam play towards mid where you have the numbers advantage. Your build on Quinn is going to be a lethality setup with Profane Hydra as the rush item, the Collector second, and Edge of Night third, while Electrocute is the keystone rune. Your perma ban when picking Quinn should always be Malphite, even more so that Mal is getting buffed for this patch. Quinn literally wins 43% of the time in that matchup, which is by far her worst analytical lane. One of the more reliably impactful top lane champs in the game, who has been directly buffed for 25.20 and joining the top 3, is Malphite. Malphite's base armor got increased and his E damage went up as well, so his ability to feast against AD fighter top laners has got even better. Sunfire Aegis was just recently buffed too, and it's the item Malphite likes to rush in the majority of his games, so lots of positives for Mal as of recent. With Jax back to being played a ton, it's another reason to pull out the Malphite, as Mal's attack speed slow can really hurt Jax's extended fight power. The 2 matchups you need to avoid when picking Malphite are Sylas and Mordekaiser, as both champs are AP bruisers, so Malphite cannot itemize armor like he wants, while Sylas stealing Malphite R just leads to disaster in later game fights. For Malphite's build, Sunfire or Hollow Radiance will be the rush item, and then you'll build items like Thornmail, Frozen Heart, and Canik Rookern, depending on what you need most to counter the enemy team. Comet is the cookie cutter keystone for Malphite, but Grasp is pretty underrated in specific matchups. If you're against the likes of Tryndamere, Irelia, Garen, or Yone, to where they need to be in auto attack range to trade with you, you'll get pretty good value from Grasp throughout the lane. Against champs who can sit back more or poke you from range, like Jace, Aatrox, Gnar, or Quinn, Quinn, that's where Comet will be most optimal. Making a big push back into the jungle meta and on the solo carry list for 25.20 is Diana. So Diana benefited massively from her buff from last patch, and her win rate shot up over 1.5%. On top of this, we were seeing the likes of Volibear and Briar nerf for this patch, which will just make Diana priority rise even higher. So if there's one pick or ban jungler for solo queue right now, it's most definitely Diana. Knowing how to clear your jungle most efficiently is really important to unlocking the full potential of Diana, as you should be hitting a full clear in under 3 minutes and 7 seconds, or else you're doing something wrong, and should check out our Diana clear video that we have up on our website. There's just no reason to not be clearing your jungle as fast as possible, as you can spend time in practice tool and nail it down if you really want to improve. Especially in the lower elos, a lot of junglers won't full clear, and if you can get your clear done by just slightly over 3 minutes and then look to try and fight them, if they're still level 3 while you're level 4, it's as close to a guaranteed free kill in a skirmish as you're going to get. For Diana's build, you have a couple of options, as both Liandry's and Nashor's are viable rush items. Liandry's provides you with some added durability, so if you're against a tankier comp, that's where it would be best, while Nashor's will provide better one-shot power, so it's great into squishier comps. Since Diana needs to be diving the back lane in fights to be effective, banning out a meta support like Melio who can limit your access is a good idea. For Diana's rune page, it's going to be Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace, while Free Boots and Cosmic Insight are for secondaries. A jungler who's been quite underrated as of late, who gets even better for 25.20, is Jax. Jax plays incredibly well into many of the meta junglers right now. Those AD fighters like Viego, Yi, Volibear, Xin Zhao, and Warwick are great for Jax because they rely on auto-attacking so much to win out in skirmishes. Even Diana is pretty reliant on auto-attacking and getting her passive proc off to win out in skirmishes, so Jax E is useful in that matchup as well. More spell-reliant champions are who Jax is going to have a bit more of a difficult time against, so banning out Lilia is good value right now, as she's the most played spell-reliant jungler in meta. 2-item spike for Jax is incredibly powerful, as Trinity Force with Sundered Sky turns him into a massive threat. When you have your R available and these items completed, you're basically a DPS tank with how durable you are and how much consistent damage you can output. So with 3 of the heavy hitters from the last patch nerfed in 25.20, making a push into the top 3 for jungle is Kha'Zix. So in terms of a pure assassin jungler right now, Ka is outclassing everyone else. Ka is such an oppressive champion when he gets a lead because of how easy it is for him to assassinate enemies that are out of position. Stealthing in and then point and click one-shotting an enemy squishy before they can even react is what makes the champ so powerful. You also have the active movement speed from Ghostblade, which helps you close the gap faster. So if you're sitting in an unwarded brush and the enemy ADC walks up to farm mid-wave in the mid-game, it's so easy to pick them off. Ideally, how you want to approach fights in the mid-game is by sitting in a brush, waiting for enemies to walk close, and then leading with your stealth from R to get in range of them, and saving your E to use as an escape tool after you've one-shot your target. By going for the core build of Ghostblade into Opportunity, you get a bunch of bonus movement speed, so it makes dipping in and out of fights a lot easier. 2 matchups that can be more annoying to play into as Kha'Zix are Wukong and Naafiri. Wukong with his clone makes it difficult to lock on, and then Naafiri has her pack mates, which prevents you from getting that isolated Q damage. Back in the top 3 for another patch for mid lane is going to be Morgana. Definitely a bit surprised that Morg isn't being hit with a nerf for this patch because she's absolutely dominating the mid lane meta for solo queue. Ban rate, play rate, and win rate are all elevated right now, so there's no chance she goes more than a few patches without being nerfed. So take advantage while you can, and for a complete rundown of everything you need to know about the pick, we uploaded a guide for Morgana mid last week, which we will link for you guys in the top right corner. The TLDR on the pick is that she's way too easy to execute for how powerful she is. You can one-shot the ranged minions with a single W at level 5, whereas most mid lane champs need at least level 7 and the majority of level 9 until they can start one-shotting ranged minions with their wave clear spells. So you just have the ability to acquire perma priority in lane right from the jump, and it really limits what the enemy can get done early on while providing yourself with opportunities to move first if a fight breaks out in the jungle. For the build on Morgana, even though most players go for Blackfire into Liandry's, and it's not a bad setup by any means, there's a better second item that our challenger mid laner Hector really likes. Hector has been taking Horizon Focus in place of Liandry's, and his reasoning behind it is that the ability haste from Horizon is incredibly valuable on Morgana. A lot of your worth when picking Morgana is going to come from locking down enemies with your bind, and not so much doing a crazy amount of DPS, so playing Horizon Focus so that you can spam Qs more often is a really good strategy. Because of the fact Morg can just spam her W out on the wave, she doesn't have any terrible matchups. Zed is one of those matchups that can be a little more tricky because he can poke you from range and your black shield doesn't help you at all, and then when Zed goes to ult you at level 6, it's pretty much impossible for your route from R to proc, since Zed can just snap back to safety, so he's a good ban to consider. If there's ever a time to pull out the LeBlanc in solo queue, right now is the time to do it. LeBlanc just got buffed last patch, even though she was already in a strong spot for solo queue because Riot wants her to be played at Worlds. So this has turned her into an extremely powerful mid laner, and because 25.20 is the patch that Worlds is being played on, we wouldn't be surprised if Riot went ahead and nerfed her back down in 25.21. LeBlanc is so good for solo queue because her laning phase is great and her catch power is incredible. If you can learn your limits in lane with LeBlanc and either stack up a nice CS lead or score a few solo kills, then the champ can completely run away with games. The straight up 5v5 teamfight of LeBlanc is the one weakness to the pick, so it's really vital you're being proactive and playing around objective timers when you have a lead to find catch plays. You want to be picking off enemies when they are isolated from their team to succeed with LeBlanc, so if Dragon is spawning in 1 minute, you shouldn't be on the top side of the map. Make sure you've got a sweeper, lurk in the brush around Dragon before it spawns, and chunk out enemies as they walk into contest vision. Matchup wise for LeBlanc, there are two champs in specific who give her issues, being Malzahar and Vex. Malz is the most played of the two, so he's the better value ban. If you don't absolutely run away with the game early on when playing into Malz, then he's just going to point and click R on you if you try and jump in during fights and completely ruin your ability to find picks. Vex gets really good value out of her passive and can easily proc her fear on LeBlanc when she tries to jump in, so Vex is a matchup you do want to avoid as well. For LeBlanc's build, you should be rushing Ludens into Shadowflame second, and then Electrocute is the optimal keystone rune. And then a mid lane champ who has seen a nice indirect rise over the past few patches, and rounding out the top 3 is Vex. So why has Vex become stronger? Well, the champions that Vex counters really hard have all been seeing more play. LeBlanc was just buffed, so she's seen a play rate spike. Katarina is buffed for this patch, so she'll be playing more, while Sylas and Akali are two of the highest play rate mids as well. Matchups aside, there's even a new build that we've seen Chovy pull out in pro play on Vex, and it consists of a Blackfire Torch rush into Cosmic Drive second. You get a ton of ability haste from this core, so you're able to be more of a consistent damage threat in fights. Rune Page is even pretty unique right now too, as Phase Rush is what's working best. So this setup allows Vex to be a lot more reliable, as you can dive in, get a multi-man fear off, kite back with a Phase Rush, and then wait for your next rotations of spells to be ready. The Phase Rush is super helpful because Vex doesn't have any escape tool once she's in a fight, so that movement speed to reposition is so nice to have. It's just longer range mages who are generally more annoying for Vex to play into, and with Morgana being one of the best mids in meta right now, she's a good ban. So because patch 25.20 will be the patch that Worlds is played on, Jinx is going to remain in an OP state for solo queue for at least this next patch. In 25.21, we likely see Riot revert the recent buffs they gave her, so definitely take advantage while you can. The Q range buff and E damage buff have been really nice to help out Jinx early on in lane and makes reaching her lethal mid-game spike a bit easier. A Jinx on 3 items and in a team fight where she can get 1 takedown is going to out-impact the majority of ADCs. All the attack speed you're able to stack up from passive and the movement speed to help kite around makes Jinx such an incredible ADC. In Season 15, team fights are happening more than ever because of Otacon being introduced, so Jinx has the ability to shine. For that core build, it's going to consist of a Yuntal Rush into Infinity Edge second and Hurricane third, while Lethal Tempo is the best keystone rune. Ban-wise for Jinx right now, champs who want to hard dive onto you in fights are always good bans to consider, so Diana is the best option with her high play rate. If you want to play an ADC who has a lot of agency over how the early laning phase plays out, there's no better option than Ashe right now. After her recent buffs, Ashe has climbed to the top of the pecking order and is a no-brainer pickup for how easy she is to learn. With the long-range autos and long range from W, it allows for Ashe to acquire priority early on, and if paired with a ranged enchanter, it's even more oppressive. Ideally, if you can lock in Ashe with Melio, Seraphine, Karma, or Soraka, basically any support who can help with early shove and poke the enemy out, your lane presence will be immense. Even mages like Zyra and Vel'Koz are super good with Ashe, as the long-range catch and burst potential gives the enemy very little counterplay. Something that's really underrated on Ashe, and has been for a long time, is taking a point in your E at level 2 in specific situations. Of course, if you hit the level 2 jump on the enemy and are forcing an all-in, don't level up your E and take Q instead. But if the enemy completely backs off and is just going to let you slow push into their tower, taking a point in E makes way more sense than Q. By going E, you can throw it into the enemy's jungle and knowing exactly where the jungler will be pathing so that you will never end up dying to an early gank. Taking a point in E at level 2 has a 1% better win rate than Q, so it obviously has a lot of strength behind it if done in the correct spots. For the core build on Ashe, you can rush either Kraken or Yuntal. If you get an early base where you have 1300 gold and can purchase a BF sword, then that's where Yuntal makes the most sense, but if not, then just go into Kraken. Similar to Jinx, the only way you're dying in fights as Ashe is if the enemy dive champs get on top of you, so banning out Diana is a good idea. ADC meta won't be changing much for 25.20 as we've got Vayne back and rounding out the top 3. Vayne is not too far behind Jinx in terms of having a deadly mid-game spike and being able to take over games when paired with an enchanter. Vayne just wins at absurd rates right now if you can get her with a Lulu, Melio, Nami, Karma, or Soraka. We've been pretty vocal about how good Vayne is with Hexblade as her 3rd item, and it's finally starting to catch on more as the play rate has been going up every single patch. You just don't die with Vayne if you have Hexblade as your 3rd item and an enchanter by your side, as assassins won't even be able to kill you in one rotation of spells, and then after they've wasted everything, you just mow them down with your consistent DPS. With Caitlyn buffed last patch and seeing quite quite a bit more play right now, she's a good ban to consider when playing Vayne. Vayne's only glaring weakness is the fact that she's shorter range and can have a more difficult time in lane against a poke duo like Caitlyn Karma, so getting rid of Kate is a good idea. Karma is honestly not a bad ban choice either because she's being picked a lot, so you can't go wrong with banning out either. If you are plat or below right now, one support that you should highly consider picking up is Brand. Brand has got a lot better as of recent, as he was buffed back in 25.16 and in 25.19. The most recent buffs were AP ratio changes, and because games last longer on average in the lower elos, the buffs have impacted Brand more in plat and below. With ADCs like Jinx, Ashe, and Kate being the most played in meta, it's really nice for Brand because he likes playing with ADCs who have some longer range follow-up potential. Brand has no issues at all chunking out a squishy for over 70% of the health bar, so oftentimes all it takes is for that Jinx R or Kate R to follow up and you've got yourself a kill. For the build on Brand, it's going to be a Rylai's Rush in all games, followed by Liandry's second. You don't need mana on Brand support, so don't fall into the trap of rushing Blackfire Torch. To be most effective in lane with Brand, you want your poke from W to stick and not have the enemy heal up from it, so banning out a meta support like Nami, who can just sustain through your poke, is a good idea. Back in the top 3 for support for another patch, and the best enchanter is Melio. Melio is just so effective while being very easy to pilot, which makes him such a consistent solo queue performer. With someone like Diana being played a ton in the jungle right now, it brings even more value to Melio because his Q and R can completely negate Diana's dive threat. The synergy that Melio has with the meta ADCs is incredible as well. Ashe Melio is as close to a free win duo as you're going to get right now, as it's been up above a 55% win rate. Ashe already has a long auto attack range, and then when Melio throws his W on her, it becomes even longer. So the ability for Ashe to take guaranteed winning trades in lane is so easy when with Melio. A champ worth banning who can give you some issues is Blitzcrank. It's much harder to counter a Blitz hook than it is a Thresh or a Nautilus hook because you can't use your R to cleanse a Blitz hook, and Blitz also has the shield breaker mechanic in his R, which makes Melio's shielding irrelevant. The standard build for Melio is going to consist of an Echoes of Helia Rush into Moonstone or Ardent Censer second, while Aerie is the Keystone rune. Mage supports are back in really powerful spots right now, as we've got Vel'Koz rounding out the top 3. So both Brand and Vel'Koz have been repeatedly buffed over the past few patches and have found themselves in S tier spots. Vel'Koz would have an even better showing analytically if players would rush the correct item, as the majority of Vel players are taking Ludens while Horizon Focus is way more powerful. You don't need the mana from Ludens when playing Vel'Koz support, as the mass amount of ability haste and vision reveal passive from Horizon are incredibly impactful to have. So much of your power with Vel support is going to revolve around having your R available and then being able to hard chunk squishies with a full rotation of spells. So the 25 haste from Horizon as opposed to only 10 from Ludens is a huge difference and allows you to be more consistently impactful. Since Vel'Koz is a more squishy support who lacks reliable peel power, banning out a meta hook support like Thresh is good value. Your level 6 is the big spike that you want to be playing for on Vel'Koz. Don't fall into the trap of trying to roam a ton prior to hitting your 6 because you need your R to be useful in skirmishes. A simple Q into R combo can eviscerate an enemy's health bar by over 50% without taking much skill at all to use, so having R available provides you with a lot of agency in lane. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCpped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCpped.com and see the difference. So there you have it everyone, those are 3 of the best champions for every single role as we head into 25.20. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.